Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well, and I thought it was about time that I did another update on the Crusades project, just because I've just managed to get through quite a lot of stuff recently since the last update. I've really tried to push on with this so I can get some games going, and when I looked at everything I'd done, I thought, to be honest, it's going to be easier just to do this in a separate update video than trying to do it all together. So in front you can see what I've completed. I've got some war machines, more command elements, more Seljuk elements, and some more terrain. So what I'll do is I'll go through each of the parts, show you what I've done, and then of course at the end I'll just share some pictures. Okay, so one of the first things that I completed since I did the last command base, which was for the Crusaders, was actually this command base for the Seljuks, or the Saracens, and I am really pleased with how this came out. All of these models are metal gripping beast models. This guy at the front is actually meant to be a priest for Saga, but I just really like the pose that he was in, so I thought that was very commanding, and I figured, well, no, he'll make a good general for my armies, either as a Seljuk or a Fatimid. Potentially it could be Kilij Arslan or Kurbakar. So I went with him, and then for his bodyguard, for the standard bearers, I used some more metal gripping beast models, and I decided to keep them on a sort of similar colour scheme. I haven't really done that for the rest of the Seljuk forces. It's been a bit more random, but on the command base I thought it'd be quite fun just to have this scheme going. And what I've done now, which you'll see when we have a look at the unit, I'm actually going to start doing this scheme on odd models throughout the units to maybe represent senior commanders, or just maybe some of the fanatical elements that have been put into those units to keep everybody in line. And I'm going to do something similar with the Crusaders as well. So as you can see, I've just decided to go with a sort of a pretty basic colour scheme for him, based on sort of a red, white and blue. But to be honest, most of the Saracen forces that I've done, I've just stuck to two colours, so I thought for the general I would just try and do something a bit different. And the details on this guy are fantastic. The details on the face, it's a really nice cast, probably one of the best casts from Gripping Beasts that I've done. I tried to add a bit of gold trim on here just to sort of set the model apart a little bit. But to be honest, it's one of those models where I think less is more. I did consider putting some patterns on the coat, but I think that would have just probably been too much. I think there's just enough on that model to make him stand out. So very pleased with him, and he does have a very mighty mustache. Same with these guys. I've kept them very simple, just black grey robes, the sort of blue turbans or blue hoods, just to sort of mark them out as a bit different. And then the transfers are from Little Big Men Studios. The metal banner bearer at the back is Gripping Beast as well. I decided not to paint him up in the same colours as the two bodyguard, because I just thought it made a bit more sense that these two guys were following him around, and maybe the bodyguard got changed from time to time. Maybe he got killed quite a lot because he's waving the flag. The base has been done using the same method that I've already shown in one of the basing videos, and I've shown in all the other models, and that's using the AK Interactive basing pastes, and then lots of different stones and dry brushing and different foliage, and yeah, I'm just really pleased. So there we are. There's the command base for the Seljuks, to be seen on a tabletop near you soon. Right, let's have a look at the next unit that I've done. Okay, and the next guys I've completed are just another basic unit of spear-armed Arab infantry. These are from the Gripping Beast box, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. I only had a few of the plastics left, so I've filled in with metal models. You can see another one of these sort of bodyguard figures here. I've got a metal command and a metal musician here, and another metal model here. So one box of the Gripping Beast plastics will do nearly 3 units, but you're just gonna have to add in maybe maybe 2 packs of metal models, and you'll get 3 units of this size, however, the way I'm doing it anyway, which I think is fantastic, actually, to be honest. As you can see, followed a very, very similar scheme. I noticed that a lot of the heads that I had left over were all of these completely hooded, completely sort of turbaned heads. So I've just tried to sort of vary the colour tones a bit, because otherwise they'll be far too similar. So I had a lot of fun painting these, and to be honest, I'm going to be ordering another box, because I think they're just fantastic sculpts. I really, really enjoy painting these. I like this guy in the middle, sort of a bit of a come at me bro pose, and here we have the command element as well. The patterns that I've done on some of the tunics and the robes are just based off of the box art, and also off of some contemporary images that I managed to find. But to be honest, I didn't want to make them too complicated. One, because it just drives me nuts having to paint that many, but also I don't really feel like there's a need. I feel like these sort of like do the job as they are. Again, basing has been done in exactly the same way as everything else, but that's now 3 units. I think what I'll do at the end, I'll actually put all of the Seljuk stuff out just so you can see what I've managed to do out of a few boxes. But that's everything that I've completed recently for the eastern side of things. I did manage to complete something for the Crusaders though. And here it is. So as we're in the Crusades, and there are quite a few sieges, I didn't think it would be right if my Crusaders didn't at least have one bit of siege equipment. Now, I do plan on having some siege towers later down the line, but I thought we would just start things off with a nice catapult. Now, the catapult is from Iron Gate Scenery. Now, I found this at Seljuk back in October, I believe it was. Yes, it was October. And they do tons of fantastic stuff. They do things like trebuchets, just normal sort of market goods, other siege equipment, some dungeon equipment as well. And it's designed by them and it's 3D printed, but they also have the license to sell other 3D prints as well. I'll leave a link down below to their website so you can go over and check it out. But this is a 3D printed sculpt. The one thing that I found quite awkward with this was the twine that went around it. That isn't 3D printed or sculpted on. That is all natural twine, which I wound around with super glue. It got all stuck to my fingers. I ended up looking like a scarecrow, and there was a lot of swearing. Going back to that, I probably now use some kind of copper wire to represent that, or I'd find a different, easier method. But anyway, that was one very small complaint. Other than that, I'm very, very happy. It doesn't come with any crew, so I decided to sort of convert some of the Victrix Normans, because I've got absolutely tons of them, so that they could look like they were turning it, basically. So I did some arm swaps and just some repositioning to basically look like these two guys are pushing and pulling on the catapult as this fellow commands them to sort of move it to give fire, maybe based on the message that this chap here has given him. So if we have a look at it sort of top down, you can see sort of like this one's got hold of the wheel for cranking it, for getting the tension going, and this one's sort of pushing and bracing it. But I was quite pleased with how they came out, to be honest. I thought they do the job. As long as you don't look too hard, it looks like they are sort of pushing along. There we go. But yeah, overall, I'm really, really pleased. I decided to put all of their equipment stashed over here. So we have 3 shields, all again done with a little big men transfer, just stacked up. Spare helmet there. A couple of swords, one on the ground, one here. And these stones did come with the catapult, so I just thought I'd put them nearby, just as where the ammo is. When it came to doing the base, I tried to make it so there were more footprints around the back of this than I would do normally, and then also where the wheels have gone, I've tried to simulate that by I actually dragged this through before gluing it in place, and then I sort of scraped it out again with a brush, and then just did a little bit more dry brushing just to show where the wheels of the war machine have actually gone. But overall, it's a lovely, lovely sculpt. It wasn't very much money. I think it was about £9. I can't quite remember. But as I say, I will leave a link to the store so you can go and check it out. So there we are. There is a Crusader catapult ready to do some damage to maybe the walls of Antioch or the walls of Jerusalem. So lots of potential for this one here. I still have absolutely tons of just Norman miniatures to paint up as Crusaders, but obviously if it's going to be laying siege to something, it needs more terrain to shoot at, so that's what I've been spending the rest of my time doing. In the last video, I showed off the Blots terrain that I had, and it was a very nice building. So I picked up 2 more, very basic buildings, but they're going to do the job for me. So I've got 3 buildings like this now. I can't reach the other one at the moment. 1 second. So I have this one, which was the kind of the double building, which I'll just put back here. And then I have these 2. This one with the staircase, which I thought was very snazzy, and then just a single box dwelling. And I've painted these in exactly the same way as the one over there, which involved using household paint, which I had mixed at the DIY store, and to a similar hue as the basing pastes I was using. I mixed the base one with some very fine sand, and then painted that on, and then dry brushed up with a lighter colour, the same colour as I'm using for my highlights, and then I just added some tufts and then a bit of dry brushing to try and bring it all together. I have left the insides, apart from a bit of mess in there from the painting process, basically completely bare at the minute. I have thought about using the Iron Gate scenery to maybe put in some sort of tables and chairs and rugs and things like that, but for now I'm pleased where they are. To be honest with you, these will do for housing units, and add a bit of interest to the tabletop. So those 3 buildings should be more than enough to indicate a village. And what village would not be complete without a well? Now, my daughter made this. I was busy painting these, and she wanted something to do, and asked if she could help me. So I said, well, why not? So I gave her these foam bricks. These foam bricks I got off of eBay. They come in a bag like this, and I've been using them as I've been modifying the castle for the Wars of the Roses. So I gave her some glue and these bricks, and she stuck them all into this rough circle here, and then I let her paint it, and I even let her squeeze in the water effect. And if you look quite carefully, just shining off of it there's her fingerprint when she asked me, is this dry yet? So there we just have a well for the center of the village. Maybe it will be a good objective for when we start playing our games. So I've got my 3 buildings, I've got my well, but I needed some other terrain, so I figured it was time to get some trees. Okay, so it's been a while since I've made any trees myself. I've just tended to buy them store-bought, as it were. So I ordered a whole load of Woodland Scenics armatures. There I got, I think it's about 28 to 30 of them, 3 to 5 inches tall, and they come like this. Got a big bag of them, which I've put into this box, and I've slowly been working through them. So what I do, let me just get rid of this. I take this and separate it, and then soak it in some hot water to bake it and make it a bit more pliable. I'm going to try and do it now, and then I bend the branches. There we go. It's not as easy. Basically into shape, and try to create interesting forms. And then I use a number of spray paints to create this. So this is how they come out after I've done some spray painting. I also use some modelling compound to sort of bulk out the trunks. So these are basically at the stage now where I'm adding the foliage, but I've used some modelling compound to sort of bulk out the trunk. I use a brown spray, then a green spray, and then just a sort of a light bone coloured spray from the top. You're not going to see a lot of these branches, so it doesn't really matter. The bases are all based on a 40mm MDF, and on that I just basically base them exactly the same way that I've based all of the units so far, and that's using a mixture of the AK Interactive pastes, and then dry brushing. I throw on some stones and some tufts for, you know, just a bit of variety. And then they're ready to go. But I'm really pleased with these. To be honest, I'll be quite happy to use these without adding the foliage on. But if you're wondering what they look like with the foliage on, then they look a little something like this. And there we are. So this is reindeer moss. You can get it from eBay. You can buy it from Geeks Gaming, Scenics as well. I think it's just called tree canopies on there. But this is reindeer moss, and then I've basically glued on some additional flock. I just sprinkled it along the top, basically to make it look like the top is healthier and the underside is slowly dying. I didn't want the sort of a completely parched desert look. I think I've said that before in my videos. So in my mind, this is a really good way of sort of adding a bit of greenery and a bit of life to the battlefield as well. So this is what all of those trees will end up looking like. I've done these 3 start to finish. I've got 6 more to do, and then I've still got 21 armatures left. So I'll make some more trees for my sort of western theatre of war, and then I'll see where I am, and then maybe some of them will get used as burnt out trees and things like that for a bit more interest on the table. But these wouldn't be anything if I didn't have a mat to play on. And that is exactly what I've gone and done. I've bought a Geek Villain 6 foot by 4 foot desert mat. It's a fleece one. The reason I've gone for this one, I did look at the Sicily one quite a bit, but I decided it was a little bit too green for my liking, whereas this has got the right amount of sort of scrub and vegetation on it, and I think this is going to go really, really well with all of my bases, and it will look good with the troops on it as well. I think that's all going to fit together very nicely. I don't quite have the room on my painting desk here to get the whole thing out, but I wanted to just show you guys. I'm a big fan of the Geek Villain mat, so I've got one of their snow ones and one of their just standard sort of green ones, and I'm going to use it a lot. So this should be getting an outing very, very soon. It's also got, I don't think I'm going to be able to show, you can just see here, look, you've got an outline here of plots and fields, so if you put your buildings on there, then you will have this small sort of gully around the outside. But I'm really, really pleased with that, so that'll be making an appearance very, very soon. But that's not all that I've been on. This project is growing very, very fast, so give me 2 seconds and I'll just grab out some extras that I've bought to be getting on with. Okay, so we have a lot more plastic. This is in addition to all the Norman sprues I have. So those of you who are a bit more eagle-eyed will recognise that this is all Victrix stuff. They recently released these. Now I've pulled these off, and these are their Dark Age archers and slingers. You get 36 of these. Now I have made a couple of these up, and I really, really like these. I really like the detail on them. I really like the facial expressions. I love the poses that they've got for the archers. I love this guy standing here, and also the one, I can't see if he's, yep, here he is, the guy who's standing and he's got the ammo in his hand, which was quite common at that period to, you know, if you wanted to rapid fire. These can also be used as light infantry. You can cut out the sort of the bow hands and replace them with axes and knives. So I've got some plans for these, because there are some certain, I don't really want to call them regiments, but units in the First Crusade that these would suit very, very well. But I've stuck 2 archers together just to see what they were like, and then I'd put together a standard bearer who I thought was also sort of a fairly mean looking captain. I mean, these would do for a long period of time as sort of peasant archers. So if you're looking, even if you're not looking at doing the Crusades, if you're just doing something like Saga or Dux Britanniarum or Infamy, something like that, then these would make fantastic archers and light infantry for any of those periods. But that's not all. That's not the only Victrix stuff I've got. So those are the Dark Age archers and slingers, and these are Anglo-Saxons and Anglo-Danes. Now the reason I've bought these is because the Crusade was made up of lots and lots of different peoples. We know that there were Armenians, Byzantines, Franks, Italians, Sicilians, all sorts, you know, and I thought that this was a great opportunity to include just some Anglo-Saxons. And this isn't without basis. There is an anecdote about Anglo-Saxon ships docking at Acre, I think it is, or Jaffa, and then basically resupplying the siege of Jerusalem. They dismantle their ships and they use the dismantled ships to build the siege towers. There's also this character called Edgar the Etheling, who was actually the heir to Edward the Confessor, but he was too young at the time, and then Harold Godwinson took the throne, and we all know how that turned out at Hastings. And he's a character who, even if some people say he was present at certain points of the First Crusade, other people say he went there afterwards. As a wargamer, I just need that. I just need that one little tidbit to go, yeah, I'm going to put some Anglo-Saxons in there. So I figured it would be just for to represent them, I'm going to do a unit of Anglo-Saxons using the Anglo-Saxon frames and do them crusading out there, you know, where everything else can be put aside. Although there are stories of when they all met up in Byzantium of the Varangian Guard, who by this point contained a lot of Saxon exiles, basically nearly coming to blows, or actually coming to blows with the Normans who had travelled, and they were all meeting in Constantinople, and then they had to be kept apart because they were just going to kill each other. So I think we can have some fun rules with these and have a bit of fun. So I've got these, but the great thing about this sprue, and I've stuck this together already, it comes with a priest, and every good crusade needs a priest. Now, I think what I'm going to do with him, I'm going to make an add-on base for him, very similar to the ones that I did with the double-handed swordsman. So the priest can just be slotted into a unit, or he can maybe act independently with some different rules. I'm going to do the same with some Islamic priests and also some of the sort of more exotic Islamic units. So maybe some assassins, the Nafta troops, the sort of, you know, the ones that hurl Greek fire and they sort of hide in units. So I think that's a good opportunity. But yeah, I was very pleased with him. So as you can see, the project has sort of got to the point where I can start having games, and then all of a sudden it's developed hugely. I've got a lot of miniatures to be getting on with for the Crusaders. I think off the top of my head I've probably got at least 8 more units to put together, and I've run out of models for the Seljuks. Now the Cavallero miniatures, I think they're called Reconquer Designs now. They are releasing some Berber archers, they've got some camel archers, and I do want to get those as well, but I'm definitely going to have to keep up with my infantry, so I'm going to grab another box of the plastic infantry, because I'll be able to make at least 2 units of spearmen and a unit of archers out of that, and then I'm just going to keep on plugging away at the cavalry as well. Anyway, I've probably rambled on enough at the moment with this project update. What I'll do, I'm just going to get out all of the Seljuk forces that I've done, just so you can see those, and then I'll sum up. And there we go. That's the Seljuk forces so far. It doesn't quite look as much when I got it out like this, but we've got the commander, we have light horsemen, 2 units of spearmen, and a unit of archers. But these could be broken down into 3 small units of spears like that, and you know, to be fair, I don't really think that's going to make a whole lot of difference on the table. Just more about, you know, just adding a couple of dice for shooting if you're using Hail Caesar. I do want to add some more light cavalry. I've got one, because I do them in 9s and they come in packs of 12. I've got 3 left over, so if I buy another box of light cavalry, then I could make 2 more small units. So basically I could do another 4 bases, which would give me 7, so I could have 1 standard size unit of 3 bases and then 2 small units. And of course, if I get some infantry, then I'll be able to add some archers. So pretty much what you'd be looking at is nearly double what I've got here just by buying 2 boxes. However, this is enough to game with, and that's what I intend to do, and to do some battle reports. Now, they are going to be using Hail Caesar to start with, because that's what I know and play a lot of, and I'm happy with changing some of the rules there. But I do want to check out games like Deus Vult, Soldiers of God, I believe is another one, which has been recommended to me and I need to take a look at, along with, of course, the Osprey stuff. So yeah, there we are. Anyway, I hope you guys are well. I hope that you've got a nice Easter planned, and keep your eyes open. I'm going to have a video on the castle coming out soon, on the modifications and the add-ons that I've made for it, and also the rules that we're going to be using in the game. I've got a couple of games basically booked in and prepared. We've got Wars of the Roses, we've got some Black Powder, potentially some English Civil War, and that's all going to be coming on the channel in the next few weeks, or probably more like next month or so. at the moment, because it's Easter holidays, it's actually harder for me to make videos because the kids are off and I've got to look after the kids and do my fair share. But if I can get them, you know, basically making Terrrain, then, you know, I think I'm onto a winner. Anyway, I hope you guys are all well. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed it, why not just drop a like, drop a comment down below. I do try to get back to everybody. I'm sorry if I've been a little bit slow on responding recently. As I say, it's just been crazy with the Easter holidays. I hope you all have a lovely time off, whatever you're doing, and I will catch you all again soon. I'll leave you with some photos of all of this, and I'll see you guys all again in the next one. Take care.